Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Moms and Some Labels. Two Moms and Some Labels is a platform for parents and caregivers caring for a child or a loved one with a disability. And this is a shared space for everyone to come together to be able to just commune, network, and just share and gain ideas on how to persevere through challenging times. My name is Brittany, and today we have a special guest. We're going to talk about AAC. I love talking about language and speech communication. It's so crucial and key to just the way that we are able to understand one another. And even if your child is not verbal like mine, there's still language that they have, whether it's your body language or sounds or, whatever it is that they can do that helps them to communicate their wants and needs. Everyone has a voice and they do it in their own way. So today I want to share some information with you about AAC and some books that this wonderful guest has, and just talk a little bit more about exactly what AAC is. So, Stacey, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. I'm Stacey Galvez. I'm a speech language pathologist, but more importantly, I'm a mom to three beautiful daughters. But my youngest daughter, Taylor, she's 7 years old, and she is autistic, and she's an AAC user. And because of the very complex and raw challenges we've had for many years now, my purpose has shifted, and I am all into supporting the autistic population and complex communicators, because I believe with every fiber of my being that their communication should be honored and they should have access 24/7.
Absolutely. So, I don't know if you mind sharing, but what diagnoses does your child have?
So she has autism. With the levels, it's confusing. I don't know how much I appreciate them, if you will, but level 2. And she's apraxic. She has whole body apraxia. So she knows what she wants to say, but it can't come out. And it's very, it's hurtful. It hurts. It really hurts. It's painful to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, that's very frustrating. And I always say, I feel like our kids, they have been through so much and they still keep a smile on their face,
Yes,
and
yes,
they're still happy. And I would trade places any day with my child to have her be able to express verbally what she wants and just experience life more. But where she's at, I try to make sure that I meet her there and make sure that she does not miss out on experiences that she otherwise people would think she couldn't experience. I always believe wholeheartedly in giving her a full life. And a lot of times when it comes to like going to the doctor or going to different places, we kind of meet um, like challenging dead ends where people are trying to block us from being able to have our children experience
yes.
life in their way, in their manner. Um, and so I'm an advocate of making sure that, which is why, we're talking about the AAC devices also too today, because a lot of times they feel like, well, they can't do this, they can't do that. So what is the point of the AAC device? I'm going to fight for my child to be able to have whatever it is that they need to be able to express themselves, and for someone else to try to determine what their level of life should be, and what they are not capable of.
Yes.
That is absolutely not their place to do that. So I believe in fighting through that. If I have to write letters, if I have to talk to someone in our governor's office with the state, like I'm all for advocating, because everyone deserves to be able to have an opportunity to have a full life, no matter what their disability or ability. So I feel like the AC device has been very helpful for us and very life changing.
Yes.
for my child because she is nonverbal, and for a very long time she only could express herself through, whining and yelling. Like it would just be constant yelling and screaming all day. Like we couldn't even get anything done. We couldn't go anywhere. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
And we were able to trial the AAC device, and we did that with ABA therapy.
Mhm.
And after like a year or two, she started using the AAC device more. And I mean, it changed our lifestyle drastically. And there was no more screaming and yelling. I'm like, we can drive all the way to West Virginia now without screaming and
Yeah.
hollering. Like we can drive to the grocery store because she was able to find her voice and let us know what her wants and needs were.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful, for her therapist and for us being able to access the AAC device so that she can feel like she's a part of things and let us know actually like what she wants to do and what she likes. And I'm so thankful for it. I'm not sure, how or in what capacity your daughter uses her AAC device, but my daughter, she has a large button, and it connects to the device, and she uses it that way. She's
Mhm.
visually impaired, so she's not able to like see the screen and things like that, but she listens for the things that she wants, and that's how we're able to use the AAC device. So how does your daughter access her communication device?
Yeah, so she uses TD Snap, and she taps on the icons with her finger. And I can relate to so much of what you're saying because I feel like the AAC device has had such a profound impact on my daughter and my family. One day we were in the car and we were playing music, and she pressed, I like that. And like I could have crashed my car because in 6 years, I have never heard a preference like that expressed. And it's so amazing because now she spent, I would say, 5 years virtually silent, not really more than a few words here and there, just flat. And then, it took a while for her to learn the language system of the AAC, but now she's on there and she can go through it and say what she wants. I'm very intentional about what I put on her device. So if I see she likes something, I describe it in the icon so we can get back to it. And I find that it just takes away from these meltdowns because I can't even fathom what it would be like to not say just basic wants and needs. I've held her in my arms more times than I can count for hours on end with her crying, not knowing why. And the AAC, well, I know there's a stigma to it that it's hard for a lot of people to grasp. If you shift your focus from how do I get my child to talk to how can I support my child's communication right now, it really changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is so important and so true. And I was just thinking about like how I started realizing like, oh my gosh, this is really helping. Like she is really trying to make choices because at first I was like, does she really mean that because of her spasticity and things like that too? I'm like, does she really mean that? Is that really what she wants? And every day I'm just like, she proves,
Mhm.
me wrong, and like she is really capable and able.
Yep.
Because for example, like one day we were driving and we listened to Doc McStuffins like the whole drive, and then her therapist came and she, had her device. She set up, and she said, what do you want to do? Her device asked her, what do you want to do? And she said, watch TV. And then she said, what show do you want to watch? What do you want to watch? And then it went through all her choices, and Doc McStuffins is like one of the last choices. And when it got to Doc McStuffins, she's like, Doc McStuffins.
Oh, I love
And I'm like, we were
it.
just literally listening to that all morning in the car. So,
Yeah.
it's like to know that she can put those two together and like, okay, yeah, this is really what I want to do and listen to.
Yeah.
So things like that, it just puts a smile on my face when, she's able to do things like that. And I'm sure for your daughter, it's the same. I just wish it was not so difficult to be able to get a device.
I know.
And, hopefully that's something that will improve in the future. But can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the field of speech therapy?
Yeah, so my mother is actually a speech pathologist, and I was trying to pick what to do, and she really convinced me because she's like, you could have a very flexible schedule, which will enable you to have children, and you don't have to, you can make your own schedule. And she said, just try it. If you like it, great. So I tried it, and I've actually worn a lot of different hats in the field because it's actually a really big field. So when I started out, I was in the nursing homes specializing in dysphagia, which is swallowing disorders. And over time, I just kept shifting where I ended up in a children's hospital and then early intervention. And now with my lifestyle, now I'm just fully invested in, like I said, supporting AAC and the autistic community. And that's why I started social media. I had no goal. I just was like, I had saw something I didn't like. I was at my daughter's sensory gym, and a therapist was working with this child who was nonverbal. And she kept saying, I'm not going to give it to you until you say whatever the word is. And I reported her, of course, but I was just so horrified. Like, how could you do that? If she could say it, she would. We're humans. We choose the path of least resistance. She's not speaking to you because she doesn't want to. And then I just kept going. So now I'm just out there and I'm just trying to share what I know because people need help and people need little tangible pieces of advice. And I kind of view myself as like a translator because I know the clinical applications of speech pathology, but I live the life. It's real to me. It's not a 45-minute session, and I'm a high support needs parent. I'm tired. Some days I'm trying as hard as I can to function. So I just feel like if you give little pieces of information to people that they could do, we spread awareness. It's just going to benefit our kids who need to be spoken for.
Yes, absolutely. And, that's why I feel like too, advocacy is so important to me because there's so many parents that they don't understand what their rights are, or maybe they feel afraid to speak up, or maybe where they're going at is just convenient for them at that time because they might have to travel, here and there for this therapy and that therapy. And they might feel like, that's the only place that they can go to because I've experienced, and I know a lot of parents that have experienced also too, like everybody is not meant to be a therapist or, whatever occupation, because I've experienced that too. And I had to learn as a parent and advocate, like, this is not what I see for my child. I know that she can do X, Y, and Z. And for the person that is working with her and developing goals for her to not believe in what she can do and not have the patience for what she can do, then it's not a good fit. And, I have to keep looking until we can find what a good fit is. So I really dislike that too. We've had that happen before, where a therapist was like, well, if you're not going to walk, then we're not going to use the gait trainer. You're not going to be able to do it. Like, she needs the gait trainer to be able to. So I'm like, that doesn't even go together. And that is very frustrating, when you see things like that. So I'm a big advocacy person. I believe in, fighting for your child and observing. Every therapist is not going to be the right fit for your child, and you know your child the best and what is going to work for them. So,
and even if they're nonverbal, you could usually tell by their body language, they should like the therapist they're going to see. This should be someone who lights them up. So if they're really reacting in a negative way, well, now we got a problem, and I want to investigate that. And I have seen there's a stronger shift towards neuroaffirming care, where people are not just looked at as a diagnosis but more accepted for who they are. And so there is a shift happening in the fields, but we know that stuff takes a long time to trickle. But you touched on rights a few times, so I'd like to talk about that. I agree with you 100%. We have to know our rights, because unfortunately, it seems like these systems, they're bullies. And if you do not stand up to them, they'll trample you. So when you arm yourself with knowledge, and realize that, we go to these places and we expect that they know all the policies and the rights, but oftentimes they don't. Sometimes they flat out lie. They will mislead you. And even if it's not intentional, they might not tell you what you need to know. So I, in my experience, and I've had quite a few bad ones, anytime they tell you anything, well, show me the policy. And even if there is a policy, you can usually fight it, because there's a lot of discrimination in this area, a lot. Mm-hmm. My family has felt it, and it's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, like with my daughter, she is like, she's either going to be in the mood to do something or she's not.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of times where we went into speech, and it was literally like we're all looking at each other because she didn't want to work that day. Mm-hmm. And finding the therapist that has the patience and understanding, like, okay, we all have our days. Hey, today's Monday. I don't feel like working either. Okay, well, let's do something. Let's do something else. Let's find something else that we can, work on. That's what you need. And a therapist or individual that can be able to just pivot to something else. So, that is really important. And so I want to get into your books, because that is so interesting. When I saw your books, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. Like, that's different. I haven't seen that before. So can you talk a little bit about your books?
Yeah. So I created Tap with Tay AAC storybooks, and they're communication first books. So the whole focus is communication during shared reading. So I took very simple, short, and repetitive text throughout the story, and then I paired it, or I embedded icons, so symbols within the text, and I picked the symbols that I thought were most salient, that would invite the most communication from the child, so that they could participate. And that came about because I was thinking, like, you're in a classroom and a teacher is asking questions, she's engaging the kids. Well, how does my daughter interact? You know what I mean? If the child doesn't know how to navigate and get to the words, they're sitting there quiet and they can't engage. So I put those icons in there, but I made it so that the books are not just for the communicator, they're for the communication partner too, because they play such a big role. And caregivers are told, you have this AAC device, so now you have to model. And they're like, well, when do I model? What do I model? How do I model? So there's kind of a built-in system of sorts that makes it easier. So for example, I have one of my books here, and this is Head to Toe, Let's Go. So I have simple wording, right? And then this is the mouth pair. So there's a mouth icon on when we identify the body part, and then there's a related action and the mouth icon. So we can, as we're reading, instead of interrupting the flow and going all through everything, we say, touch my mouth, we tap mouth. Ideally, the child participates. If they don't, that's totally okay. They're getting the exposure. And if they do, they're learning the motor plans and how to find these buttons, when to access them. And I'm really excited about it. And another important aspect of it is that best practice AAC is called aided language input. So that refers to, as you're talking or reading, you touch icons, you kind of weave it in a natural way. It's not this like test. Communication should not be a test. So this book allows you to use best practice to support the communicator. And I saw the gap in the resources. And I said, I got to do something about this.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea. And I'm excited about, utilizing the book and seeing how we can and incorporate that into my child's day and see, how she's able to understand that.
Yeah.
Um,
If I may, another part of it is the characters in the book all wear an AAC device, which I love because now the child gets to open the book and is like, oh, that person communicates like me. And then if a child who doesn't wear an AAC device opens the book, they see that other people communicate different, and that's okay. So I'm I'm so excited.
Yeah. So with the icons in the book, so would they go onto the AAC device?
So what I did was my daughter uses TD Snap, right? So that's one of the major apps. And most of the major apps, although they're not consistent, they're pretty similar in the way they're laid out. So for my head to toe, let's go, which is body parts, you could go into the body parts section and just, you don't have to navigate all over. You could just stay in there. So it's kind of seamless. And that's, like I said, that should be for most of the systems. And, they're not the same. They're not the same icons, of course, because all the apps have different symbols. Mm-hmm. But I tried to make them as realistic as I could.
Yeah. And so, like, where do you see this going? Where do you see your books going?
I'm hoping in some time that they could be in all the special education classrooms and really help SLPs, because for therapy, a lot of people, assume that, well, the SLP is the expert, but like I said, it's a big field, and not everybody is very familiar with it. So since I made the modeling easier, it really will allow professionals and parents to support their kids, in a way that's manageable for them. Yeah. So I hope we can get it out there, and I'm starting to make interactive ones for the smart boards. And my daughter's teacher, she's in a self-contained class, first grade. She tried it out today, and she said the kids were so excited and they were really engaged in the visuals. So that was really good feedback.
Yeah. And so, like, what is your vision for the books for the AAC user? How do you see this helping them?
So first, for the participation, so they're reading the books, and whether they have a partner or not, they can say, oh, there's a mouth icon. And if they choose, they can touch the mouth icon, and they just start getting more familiar with the device. And that ideally helps them carry over skills, because AAC is a language system. You have to be immersed in it. It's like any language, you have to practice it, and you want to do that in as many meaningful contexts as possible. So like with my own daughter, anytime we're doing something new, something fun, I'm always introducing new vocabulary, kind of passively. So this is just another tool for the toolkit to teach AAC, to teach this language system to the kids.
Yeah. And something that I was thinking about, because, every child is different. Mm-hmm. And my daughter, she learns and uses her device differently because of her being visually impaired, and then her physical limitations also. So I was just thinking about, I used to make these like sensory kits, and it would be like a kit that goes with a book. Okay. So let's say you had like the hungry little caterpillar. And so when you're reading to children that may be visually impaired, and they need that like sensory input, they need the texture and things like that to pair with what you're reading. Yes. I was thinking, I'm like, with your books, if you had like a little kit or something for those that are using the device, but they are more on the textural sensory input side, and they need more of the touch and feel. Yes. To like add something in there like that. So
I actually did think of that.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
So like when you talk about the mouth, like get a little mouth and
Yes.
let them touch it and see it, and like different body parts. I don't know if you could just like have a picture of it and maybe make it like textural or something.
Well,
But
that actually, when I was younger, when I'm out in the field more, I actually did have a kit. It was a little bag and it had little felt body parts. It was like a little mouth and a little nose, so something like that. But yeah, I'm with you.
yeah, I think that would be a cool addition to that, somewhere down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think this is so amazing what you're doing, and like I said, I feel like communication is so key to life, and everybody has their own way of communicating, and that's important for everyone to be able to express their needs and wants. So I am looking forward to. Can your books be purchased yet?
Yeah, I have a website. It's www.tapwithtayaac.com.
Okay. And then you said you had social media. Can you share your social media?
Yes, I'm Stacey G-SLP, and that's for Instagram and TikTok. I'm forgetting the name, and TikTok.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So you can purchase some books on Stacey's website. Visit her social media. Do you kind of like do like a streaming, or you maybe like what's your social media?
No, I post. I have thoughts. I post little videos, and I really just try whatever I can to just help families of things that I go through or things that I see through work, and hope someone, even one person, can get help from it.
Yeah. And I mean, even if, we could get you in some type of like in-service with some clinics, there's a lot of like homeschool co-ops and things like that. I think that would be such a good idea to be able to have you be able to just present other ways to communicate and your books and talk more about the AAC device. I think, I mean, I can just see it in a lot of different capacities, helping different families.
I really come from an extremely humble place, and I know from what you told me, you can really relate. It's really an isolating and painful place for these kids, and they really need the support from all of us, just to really be able to share their voice in whatever capacity they can. And we got to fight for it. I see too many kids that are just not being given the support they should be. And there's just no excuse for it. There's too much information, and we all got to step up and try to help them.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. So I want to just take the time to thank Stacey for coming on to Two Moms and Some Labels today and sharing her story, her daughter's story, and this wonderful creation that she has with the AAC books, and just her knowledge that she has to be able to continue to help the community of individuals that need, a little bit of support with their communication, and even, teachers and therapists and, others that are in this field, and they need that extra support also to be able to make a platform for our children and loved ones to be able to communicate their wants and needs to the world. So I'm excited for you, and I am looking forward to seeing what Tap with Tay AAC Storybooks does. And remember, you can go on to her website and purchase the books. And would you recommend that families, if they purchase the books, that they explore it on their own, or maybe try to incorporate it like in a session with their therapist?
I would say whatever they're comfortable with. If they're intimidated, well, I don't want to say intimidated. If they're unsure, of
Yeah.
the device and they'd like to do it with their therapist. You know, I had a bunch of people say, I'm going to show this to my therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're comfortable with. And I just wanted to say one more thing to parents before we go. It's no matter what an assessment tells you, whatever they tell you your child can't do, these kids of all abilities are so smart. They have so much in there, even if we don't know. And yes, you have to take it in so you know what supports they need, but really just believe in them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And my key thing that I always say, and whenever I meet any therapist for my child or any, physician, whatever, don't let her fool you because she knows more than you think. And she's listening.
Yes.
And he knows exactly what is going on. So don't take her for granted because she knows.
Amen.
So I 100% agree. Give your child the opportunity to express what they're capable of doing. Just continue to work with your child because they're capable. They are so capable. They
Yep.
know so much. It's just so important to give them access to whatever you can give them access to. Whatever you think they may not know, give them access to
Yep.
it because they will surely prove you wrong. That they are able to do what their peer is able to do. It's in their own way, at their own pace and rate, but guess what? They will still be able to participate and do what it is that they're able to do in their own way. And I think that's important to give them the access to do that.
They don't need to learn colors for 15 years.
Right.
Teach them the things, even if you don't even think they're listening. Teach them about the solar system. Teach them about everything because they hear you. They are listening.
Yeah. So thank you so much again, Stacey. I appreciate it. I hope that everyone goes on and to Stacey's website and purchases the storybooks. If your child is an AAC user, give them access to their communication device and increase their knowledge and their desire to and increase their language and vocabulary is so important. So until next time.
Thank you.
I will see you then. Thank you, Stacey. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time on another episode of Two Moms and Some Labels. We will see you soon.